I'm very happy and very grateful to you for the organization of this seminar and also the World Day that we have at ESSEC Asia Pacific. So my name is Cedomir Nestorovic, and I'm a professor at ESSEC for quite a long time. And I've been with the campus here in Singapore for the last 10 years. And among other functions, I am also the academic director of the ESSEC Mannheim Executive MBA Asia Pacific track that we have here in Singapore. And I'm very glad to introduce this panel discussion that we have with some of our notable alumni. So we are supposed to have 3 of them, but as you know, with internet and with the situation that we have today, we have 2 participants who have joined us for the moment, and we hopefully will have a 3rd one who will come a little bit later on. So I will not introduce the 2 participants. They know how to introduce themselves better than me. So I will ask Aileen to introduce yourself, and after that I will ask Aminetou to do the same thing. Aileen?
Thank you, Professor. So I'm very, very honored to join this panel. My name is Aileen Dualan. I'm the Regional Medical Director for Asia Pacific for MSD, a pharmaceutical company. I've been in the regional role for the last 11 years based out of Singapore. And 3 years ago, I made a decision to pursue an MBA, and here I am today, done with it. And very happy for it.
Thank you, Aileen. Emmy?
Yes, thank you, Professor. And as Aileen, I'm very honored to be part of this panel as well. So on my side, I'm an international lawyer. I've been working the past 20 years. I mean, as an in-house international lawyer in several companies, biotech, and the last spent it with Airbus, working on everything which flies on aerospace matters. So I spent, more than 6-7 years now in the region. 2 years in Bangalore in India, and I moved to Singapore 4 years ago. And I decided as well with Aileen, actually, we were in the same cohort to participate to this EMBA program 2 years ago, and I'm very glad that I made this decision.
Thank you, Amy. It was a fantastic cohort because we had 45% female participation in the cohort, which is not happening every time and in every institution. I just saw briefly Tim. Tim, are you here?
Yes. Hi, Prof.
Hi, Tim. We are having this round of introduction for the moment. So if you can just introduce yourself briefly, and after that we'll continue with the panel discussion.
Most certainly. So first things, apologies, I was a couple of minutes late. I was trying to find some difficulties connecting. But to introduce myself, my name is Kooi. I'm currently with Chevron as their business unit digital manager, where my role here is really to drive data transformation, digital transformation for commercial business unit. I came from the EMBA batch that just graduated, that started about a year and a half ago. And actually, when I first joined the EMBA, I was actually with DHL doing innovation. So, this journey with the EMBA was most exciting. It actually led to a career change for me. So nice to meet everyone here.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tim, for that. I'm happy to have this diversity, not only in terms of nationality, because we have 3 nationalities which are present here, but we also have a diversity in the positions that you are currently occupying, but also in your background. And for instance, we have a medical doctor who pursued an executive MBA. We have an international lawyer who pursued an MBA. We also have other professions such as engineering, etc., coming for an executive MBA. This is really a fantastic opportunity for people coming from all walks of life, and especially different academic background, in order to pursue an executive MBA that is supposed to help you in order to climb the ladder in your organization, or also to find something else. And the case of Tim, and I will go back to you later on, is that he changed his company during the executive MBA. And practically in every batch, we have this situation when people are starting with one professional situation, and after that, they are changing it during the executive MBA. We have a certain number of questions that we can ask everyone, but it can be a free discussion. So I'm very open to have a discussion with the former participants. In fact, for the people who are listening to you, maybe the first question they will ask themselves is, why are you going, why did you pursue an executive MBA? You already have a career, which was in very big companies, and maybe there is no necessity for you to engage on that. So I would like you to give some light on the decisions. Why did you engage for that? And I don't have a preferred order, but maybe we can continue with the same one that we had so far. I will ask Aileen first, and for the next questions, I will reverse the order. Aileen, why did you come for the executive MBA?
Maybe I'll state 3 reasons, Professor. One of them is I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. And this is probably not my first degree after pursuing my degree in medicine. I have several, you know this, right? But I also recognize that the business world is changing. So one of the big areas of change that I noticed in the last 10 years I've been in the regional medical role is that the role of technology and the role of the Internet of Things. And so I wanted to do this MBA to kind of keep myself abreast with some of those changes. And probably the most important thing for me was I wanted to gain a new network, a network outside of my small network in the medical field and healthcare field. And I have to say that proved really valuable, especially during this pandemic, where you realize you have to work with very different sectors in order to deliver healthcare.
Very good, especially when today we have this pandemic. So nobody forecasted this to happen. And dealing with the pandemic, it's not only a health issue, it's political, but it can be management issues. So this is why in this very time, having this kind of executive MBA is maybe a good way to see the complexity of the situation that we have today. And it's not easy to get one size-fit-all solution, but we have to look at several things at the same time. So Aileen, just for the discussion that we can have here concerning the pandemic and concerning the solutions that have been, of course, we cannot see what is the future, but concerning the management of the pandemic, Aileen, do you think that all countries have succeeded to manage it well? What is your opinion on that?
A very delicate question, Professor, right? But certainly some countries are doing better than others. Now, that's not to say everybody's not trying. I think many countries are trying hard, right? But as we all now know, right, it takes more than a healthcare industry to deliver a solution. It really takes the concerted effort of many sectors. So it is not just how well your healthcare sector works in your country. It is also how great the political systems are, how great the other tech industries in your countries are doing. It's many things that come together. And I think if there's anything that we've learned from this is there's so much we can do when we cooperate. So we're seeing a lot of that in many other places. But I'm sure that even though other countries are trying to catch up, right? Eventually, everybody will get there, right? We will all get through this pandemic at some point.
Thank you, Aileen. as you know, I'm only asking difficult and delicate questions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't change.
Don't scare the prospective students, Professor.
I will try not to. I will try not to.
No, but this is the kind of benefit you get from an EMBA. You get really great professors like Professor Cedomir, who will really challenge your thinking, and he will. It's not a comfortable MBA. It is. The goal is really to make you uncomfortable so that you think differently.
Thank you very much, Aileen. Thank you very much for that. Amy, so I have the same question.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, Aileen gave, most of the answers, but a great transition is that, what you say, the challenging question, this didn't change, and this was one of the reasons also for me to really, join this EMBA, to just a little bit, step back and learn from, all the experience and the years of experience that you have accumulated. And this is regardless of the fact that maybe you are a VP or SVP. That's regardless of the position itself. I think that learning is really a life, journey experience. Never stops. And I don't think that it is really connected to the experience. Of course, you gain more, and then there are opportunities which will come out of this experience. But that was not the main driver for me. It was really to broaden my, let's say, learning journey, to meet other leaders, other industries, and to learn from them. And that was a great takeaway from this experience. To have also great insight from the professors, and that was definitely also a big and high KPI. And to be very honest, I was very hesitant about this EMBA, because like many of us here during this panel, we have a very long, let's say, very busy agenda, a lot of work, and at the same time, family, sometimes also obligations. And then on top of that, you add something which is not easy, it's a challenge. But for me, the driver was first what I said before, but when I met really ESSEC, what I liked was the holistic approach to it. It was not just to gain technical expertise per se, because yes, I really loved it. Because I think that the leader of tomorrow are more about soft skills, about emotional intelligence, actually, which actually we had to demonstrate also during this crisis. And this was definitely for me a big factor in joining ESSEC and in joining the MBA, but ESSEC in particular. Yes.
Thank you, Amy. I like very much the part concerning the decision, and especially because we have so many constraints. So you are absolutely right to mention that we have family constraints, we can have work commitments, we can have many other possibilities to say, I cannot. So taking the decision to embark on this is a very big decision, because we may have plenty of reasons why not to do it. but going forward and taking this decision is not extremely easy. And we also have to explain it to partners, children, your colleagues, etc. Amy, when you announced this to your family and to your colleagues, how did they look at it? Did they say,
well, they told me you don't have enough at work, you're traveling all the time, we barely see you. Are you sure of that? So that was the first question I had at home, to be honest. And then when I started, and they know me as well, I'm someone very curious, and for me, learning is really part of what we have to do as leader. And to be honest, the moment I started to share about it and to talk about the people I met, and what I like in this curriculum is that you have the opportunity to meet actually up front, certain professors, but also certain future also colleagues. And that was for me what made my decision, because I met Cedomir, Professor Cedomir, I met also other colleagues, Aileen, and other future participants to this cohort. And I was like, this is an eye opener. Actually, you learn so much just in these meetings already, that the journey could be only great. And that was for me one of the reasons I say, okay, let's do it. And I managed to convince my partner and the family, and to combine it with work. But really, it's worth it. It's worth it by far. Yes.
It's not easy, but you did it. So another delicate question for you. So it is for the aircraft industry during the pandemic. So of course we don't want to know all the secrets that you have, but from the global point of view, how do you see the future of the aircraft industry?
It will come back, of course. I mean, it has been unprecedented times. I mean, you have heard it in many occasions, like in the industry of aeronautics and also tourism have been heavily impacted by this crisis. I mean, it was also the opportunity to demonstrate a lot of, let's say, solidarity and knowing on other, let's say, competitors was that, I mean, first, I mean, we didn't have any quality problem. We didn't have any, because that could have been a disaster on top of the crisis itself. So the idea was really, I mean, to refocus on what we do the best, to be really partner actually to the airline industry as well, to find compromise, to be really the business partnership mode that I mean, this crisis has demonstrated, and also to try to find opportunities also to transform during that time and to restructure the organization. So it has been, and it is still actually a difficult time for this sector, but it is recovering. And for example, Asia Pacific in that respect is the great region, because you look at China is back to 2019 in terms of domestic traffic and the GDP of China. As a professor of course geopolitics, you can elaborate further more than me on that one. But for the aircraft industry itself, I mean, they are back to 2019 before the crisis. And so the expectation is that, I mean, yes, it will be turbulent times, I mean, for the next 1 to 2 years, but after 2 years, I mean, it will boom again. And let's hope that in the meantime, the industries, I mean, will also restructure. You'll see a lot of M&A and a lot of deals also, I mean, to accompany that change, so that to be ready, I mean, when the growth will start again very strongly, I think, in the next 2 years. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy, for that. I will move to Tim for the moment. Tim, we have the same question for you. Why did you join an executive MBA? You were happy in your previous life?
Yes. Well, first things first, I didn't join with the intention of wanting to find a new job. Actually, I was really happy where I was. I mean, it was a nice outcome, I must say. But in all honesty, you know, the reason why I joined the EMBA was to try to figure out my blind spots. I think, you know, where I am now and where most executives who come into the MBA, you know, it's not really one to pick up very technical skills or to, you know, even look actively for a job change. It's really to, you know, understand what else you need to propel yourself for future growth. So for me, the main driving reason was to figure out my blind spots. And, you know, I always figured out, I read all these business books and I kind of know what I think I know. But the course made me feel uncomfortable, made me realize that, you know, I was quite clueless about geopolitics, about simple matters like HR, the whole approach of it. So that was really what I wanted. But, you know, being a Singaporean, you know, we are so used to the education system of memorize, study, memorize, and then take an exam. I didn't really want that. And in fact, what I found real useful, you know, even my whole career, is to have conversations. So what really attracted me about the EMBA, and particularly ESSEC's EMBA, was that while there was a syllabus, while there was a structure, the focus was not on memorizing, was more on, you know, having that conversation, talking about current affairs, and really having the opportunity to ask all the crazy questions you want. I mean, you can read as many books as you want, but nothing beats being able to go deeper, asking the 6, 7 whys. So for me, and I think, you know, it definitely met what I had in mind. And so going to Chevron was a nice outcome. And I would say, you know, the framing that the EMBA did for me really enabled me to be now, I guess.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tim, for that. I have also a delicate question for you. I like you very much, so this is why I have.
We should have predicted that, right, Professor?
You didn't expect that, Aileen. So, Timothy, for you, since you have a very, let's say, fruitful and long-lasting career in supply chain, so the question for you is about the supply chain that we have now concerning the pandemic. Do you think that the supply chain companies or the transportation companies or forward companies, etc., were ready for this kind of challenge, or do you think that they had to adapt on the spot in order to find what is the best way?
Well, I would say supply chain companies were the fortunate recipients of this whole disaster. I think many of them, might not be the best prepared, but they certainly had the resources. So I saw supply chain companies as really having a monopoly on transportation. And, supply chain isn't a very high margin business. So with this whole disaster, I mean, supply demand, right? You have high demand for movement of goods, but very low supply of transportation, especially when the whole passenger jet industry, tanked. There was a huge demand here for air freight. E-commerce went, started booming. So demand really shot up while supply really dropped. So many of these logistics companies really benefited from that. However, what I felt more was that many manufacturing companies were very much unprepared for that. And I think this really stems for having drawer plans and even considering where their suppliers are from. I always remember some stories when I was in how we had some efforts to really do things like risk management to assess where our companies are in terms of their supplier base, their second, third tier suppliers. And sometimes you'll be surprised, some of these big names out there, they would have all the suppliers in one particular region of one country subjected to the same natural disaster, the same amount of risk. And I mean, I try to draw parallels to what we are facing now. So I think this pandemic, if anything, should force companies to really have a relook at their supply chains. And I think digital is the way to go. Sometimes with logistics, you're always the forgotten child of enterprises, because you're just a cost function, but supply chain can make and break your business. So I think this pandemic is a great lesson for supply chain companies as well as logistics companies.
Yeah, it was very difficult for them and an unexpected situation. However, supply chain is used to catastrophes. It is used to, let's say, big problems that they have to answer. Stay there, Tim. I will start with you for the next question. You already mentioned this situation concerning the ESSEC and Mannheim Executive MBA. So the question is, why this one? As a Singaporean, you have the possibility to go to many other providers, foreign, Singaporean, whatever. So on the market, we have many very good quality providers for the executive MBA. So why this one?
Okay, well, I'll give you three perspectives I had. I think the first year was, I graduated from NUS. I figured at the end of the day, I'm quite familiar with what NUS has, NTU. They're different, but yet very similar, in some regard. So I wanted a different perspective. And so that's perspective number one. Number two was really that I was considering, there's so many schools out there. Your INSEAD, the Chicago booth, where I maybe fly to Hong Kong and all. What I always felt was that they were very more influenced by the American school system. So, I figured that to get insights from those perspectives shouldn't be that so difficult. At least my mind could be my naive impression. So I was quite drawn to the whole French and German mix because, the French, the Germans are great economic superpowers. Well, the American school system is one where, it's very well publicized, it's much more international, it's much more accessible. So I felt that, being able to gain access to the French, the European way of thinking, I thought that was really interesting. And that really was a big draw. And I guess the third simple reason here was quite a Singaporean one. Earlier in my career, I came from EDB and the Economic Development Board, and I know those guys there. They spent hours. Days, they spend a lot of efforts trying to draw in the best companies into the country. And well, I found out that ESSEC was one of the schools they brought into the country, and I figured that, some really brilliant guy must have spent lots of time researching why bring ESSEC and not bring another school in. So I tried to write on that and said, maybe ESSEC, is probably a great choice. And that's actually how I chose the school. So smart government scholars did their homework, and I'm writing on that.
Thank you very much, Tim, for that. We will explore the other reasons. The first one with Amy. So Amy, since you are coming from France, it could be a, let's say, natural choice that we have coming to ESSEC, but I would like to hear from you, what are the reasons coming for this executive MBA and not something else?
The main reason is really, I mean, the approach of ESSEC in terms of curriculum. You're right. I mean, I'm coming from France, even if I'm a kind of hybrid. I'm Mauritanian and I became French. I spent a lot of time in Europe. I studied also in India. And then in Asia, I wanted something which could embrace, of course, the European background that, I mean, Timothy mentioned, but also, I mean, giving you really a great insights and great flavor of, okay, the challenges that we have here in Asia. And I found that ESSEC was doing that balance very well. I mean, really as an MNC, a really global approach, which means, I mean, having footprint and roots, I mean, from Europe, but at the same time, being very local in terms of expertise, being capable really to give you great insight for Asian, I mean, operations, Asians challenges, Asian geopolitics. And that's really what I wanted actually to get in terms of skills and in terms of expertise. But that was not the main reason. The second reason was also the authentic and holistic approach of ESSEC, really. I think that as leader, I believe that the leader of tomorrow are not, again, only based on expertise and hard skills. You can get them from many schools. It's not enough. And the main difference that I found in ESSEC was really this, let's say, forefront thinking of, let's say, what will be the next leader, the responsible innovation, the responsible leader itself, okay, of tomorrow. Today we talk all about it, environment, ESG, SGD, you name it. But how do you translate that into a curriculum which will reflect also those leaders of tomorrow? That ESSEC was really providing it. I mean, when I interacted with the people, when I saw also the curriculum and the way that, I mean, we had this journey, I mean, of 18 months, it was there everywhere. It was, I mean, an end-to-end, actually holistic approach, and in each field, which could be very diverse, from geopolitics to finance to innovation, you will touch upon those topics, which are for me the topics of tomorrow and even today. So that was for me the most interesting part. On top of being authentic, I like not to say, you know, standardized approach. I don't want to name that, but just a financial guy. I mean, you know, having all the financial tips. I'm very direct here. We are in family, so I'm telling you what really attracted me in ESSEC. I like this diverse approach, and I like the fact that it's a holistic approach. It's not just on finance, it's more than that. And what we are looking at board level, at executive level, are people who have really a toolbox, which is not just finance, but many, many diverse fields. That's my answer.
Excellent, Amy. I like very much your answer because, and Timothy also mentioned this, when you're talking about the curriculum, because we are first of all professors, and we like very much when the participants appreciate the efforts given by the professors, but also by the staff here, because everyone is participating to this executive MBA. On top of this, the ESSEC Mannheim Executive MBA is also called as the Airbus of the higher education. So since you're coming from Airbus,
I mean, from my perspective, it is definitely the case.
It rings a bell. I'm switching to Aileen. Aileen, so for you, what was your motivation for this executive MBA? We, as I mentioned, concerning Timothy and for Amy, on the market we have many providers, so you can pick and choose. So why this one?
So, Professor, you know this as well, right? That before I considered the MBA, there used to be a course offered out of ESSEC that was a health management, a master's in health management. So, in fact, that's how I first came to know about ESSEC, you know, that master's of health management, which I had considered in the past. And then when I called to inquire, do you still have this course? I said, I think maybe it was you who responded. Unfortunately, we don't have this course, but would you consider the executive MBA instead? And so I really I was a little bit disappointed, right, that there was no master's in health management. However, when I looked at the curriculum, I said, you know, these are more interesting to me, right? Because I told myself, I'm sure that if I had gone back and did the master health management, it will be the same old stuff that I was already exposed to in real life. But I really, since one of my motivations was to expand my thinking and expand my world, the curriculum really appealed to me. In fact, I really remember the first course was geopolitics. And I was thinking, wow, I really want to take that course, right? Because it's something that's very relevant for healthcare. And it was something that I didn't know how relevant it would be until, of course, the pandemic, right? So I really have, I have no regrets that there was no the master in health management. Really happy that I took the executive MBA instead to expand my world. And maybe the other thing is before, like Tim, I come from the Philippines, and they put a very high premium on the U.S. education. So they'll know names like Chicago Booth, Harvard, Kellogg, or Wharton, right? But when I told my parents, I'm taking an MBA from ESSEC, they said, ESSEC, what school is that? So, which was not the same reaction I got from my colleagues who are from France and Germany, because I used to work in a Swiss company where, of course, the French schools, and especially ESSEC, was really highly regarded. Like you said, the Airbus of business schools. So I also came for the prestige.
Thank you very much, Aileen, for that. I like your answers because people can be motivated by many reasons why they're joining the executive MBA and why this one and not another one. So we can have ranking, we can have prestige, especially curriculum. And I'm advising all the people who are listening to us, all the people who are watching us, please be extremely attentive to the curriculum. Why so? It is because for many people, as Aileen has indicated before, maybe this will be the last academic journey that you will have. So you have to be very attentive to this. You are committing time, you are committing money for this kind of education. So please be extremely careful for what will you get from this. And the only way is to look at the curriculum, but also to talk to the alumni and talk to other people who have gone through this journey. And in that case, you will have a direct experience with them. Aileen, stay there. I have another question. Since you have finished last year, what was the life after the executive MBA? Did you miss coming here? Please tell me yes.
Yes, in fact.
So,
I miss coming to the campus.
So please tell me, what is your life after? Did you continue in the same company? Are you exploring some other opportunities? What is happening in your head after finishing the executive MBA?
So I am still in the same company, Professor, right? And as you know, since our industry is kind of in the spotlight at the moment in playing a starring role in this pandemic, my role is actually really, really important for the company right now. So I can say that, in fact, I've taken a lot of the lessons from the MBA to heart, right? And applied them immediately, in fact, including reaching out to classmates and other connections I've made at work in order to support some of the efforts that we've had to work on in the pandemic. I think I have to say that the fact that everything moved digital was a very big deal. And I'm so glad that I had the MBA behind me, because that really, really helped us. And Amy would know, and Timothy as well, right? That supply chain and of course, air cargo played a very big role in our industry during this time period, because a lot of the normal shipping methods were suspended. We actually had to turn to the aircraft industry to support some of our logistics and supply chain needs. So anyways, I just wanted to say I'm really busy. However, I am also if the pandemic hadn't happened, I would have moved to a global role. It should have happened last year, right? Thankful to the experience of the MBA to really open up my world to the global possibilities. That's still, of course, in the future for me, but I just need to settle some of the work I have to do and make sure that, you know, I can pass it on comfortably to my succession.
Thank you. Thank you, Aileen. I have the same question for Emmy. What is happening now, Emmy, after 1 year of finishing the executive
Of
MBA?
course, I'm missing to come. I'm not saying that tonight to be nice, even if the challenge was to sometimes come, given the agendas and the busy agendas, as you know. But no, life has been a bit hectic in a certain, you know, sense because of COVID, of course. A lot of unprecedented times, a lot of unplanned, a lot of unforeseeable, which means that force majeure, I mean, to name it like lawyers, I mean, are becoming our new normal. Force majeure is not anymore force majeure. So it's every day, the new normal. So what I did was to, let's say, the company, we have a lot of crisis management. So a lot of, let's say, the matters also that we learned, I mean, in the curriculum could be implemented in our, let's say, day-to-day crisis management mode. Would it be on a professional level, of course, but also on a personal level to be more resilient, I mean, to what's happening. So that helps. That helped a lot. On a more personal perspective, of course, as you know, I moved from legal and compliance to audit in the middle of the journey on top. So that has already broadened, let's say, the portfolio, and then not to do some teasing, but my next move will be out of actually Airbus in another industry. You'll know soon about it. But yes, and that's not due to I would say the EMBA only. It's that I think that it's all about opportunities and I think that the EMBA has a kind of, yes, accelerator in that respect, because it's an eye opener for some matters, and also in terms of authenticity, what you really want to do in the future and how you want to develop yourself. So it has been that also for me in many aspects. Not to say too much of it, you'll get to know very soon.
Okay, Amy, we are waiting for the scoop, you know.
Yes.
So you are waiting.
Yes.
Okay. Don't make us wait for long. Okay, we want to know
it's not that. To be honest, it's like a bit like Timothy mentioned.
Okay.
The journey of Timothy, I was smiling because it's quite a bit similar to mine.
Okay.
It will be to employ the right.
Okay, so we will have
sentence. It will be
have nice news.
Timothy.
Yeah.
But yes,
we'll have this nice news.
It's also the good, and I'm in Singapore, and I will be in APAC as well, so we will have plenty of time to elaborate further.
With pleasure. With pleasure.
You have to catch up, Amy.
Yes, we have to do catch up, Aileen. Definitely.
Tim, we have the same thing for you. You have just finished, so it is very fresh for you. So where are you now? I know that you're at Chevron now, so I presume that you have plenty of work to do there, and you have a very, I would say, interesting role at Chevron. So it is very challenging for I would say, traditional industry to embark on, let's say, a digital transformation of the company. So what is your life now, Tim?
Yeah, you're right. You know, life is more challenging than ever, and it's quite interesting. You know, when I first came into to the EMBA, you know, well, I actually headed up, you know, innovation and data analytics, data science. So my role is quite a fair mix between, you know, 50% technical and 50% really the whole engagement of customers, the whole design thinking. Now my role, it's not so much about wanting to get there in terms of, you know, pushing digital transformation, but I feel that it's more towards change management. companies like Chevron, now they have a very clear goal. They want to digitalize, as with many area companies. But the challenge here is just like the logistics industry. We are an old industry, very foundational, very, in a very proven ways. But now you're creating a whole complete new paradigm. So, this is where the whole move cannot be, almost like ripping off a band-aid, but it has to be one that be gradual, has to be one that really goes down to the motivations of people. So, a lot of my work right now is really in negotiations and change management, and the whole human aspect is such a big deal now. And what really makes my life even more exciting is that I cover the international markets, which means every single market outside the US. So from Australia to Europe to Middle East to Africa. So having to pivot different mindsets, dealing different cultures. One thing I must say, the geopolitics lecture helped, giving us a talking point, and the negotiation lecture in terms of helping to understand how to deal with Chinese, the Japanese. That did amazing in terms of opening up my eyes. So I'll say super busy, somewhat really glad to have finished the course. In fact, I submitted my last assignment 2 days ago. Happy with that. But to all the students, it really isn't bad at all. So it's actually quite a fun thing to do, where you actually take time out to think more about about the world.
Which matter was your last assignment?
The German one, the German immersion program.
Okay, the Mannheim. the massive online course. Okay, it was massive.
Exactly. Yeah. So glad for that finish, but I must say that I think the role now is a little more exciting, much bigger than where I started off. So glad for that. But pressing on.
Thank you, Timothy, for that. All the three of you were mentioning some topics that maybe you were not interested at the beginning, but the crisis and the challenges that we have in the future are giving another light on these topics, meaning we are just discovering how interesting and how, let's say, helpful they are in the times of pandemic or in the times of crisis. And I really appreciated the curiosity that you had in class, even for the topics that maybe you didn't have appetite for when you started it, but you never know what may happen in the future. So this curiosity and this openness for adopting and for accepting this new matters is really something that you have to do, not only the professors, but you also have to produce that. In order to finish on a lighter note. So the lighter note is talking about one memorable thing that you would like to share with the audience. So don't tell some negative things, and you can tell only positive things. It's up to you, something that you remember. One thing, I will start with Tim, is that contrary to Amy and Aileen, Tim has experienced this Zoom teaching. And this, and this Zoom teaching is quite an interesting, I would say, experience for everyone, for the professors, for the participants, and so on. So, Tim, apart from this, what is your memorable element during this 15 months?
I was going to say the Zoom meetings, but well, I would say the most memorable thing from this course was, believe it or not, the very first team building activity we had. I remember we went to Sentosa, we climbed some crazy high tower, one of those, confidence events. I came to the day a bit, annoyed, actually, thinking like, why are we doing this? Shouldn't we be in class? But I came out really happy. I think what the school did really well was, you guys knew exactly what thread to pull at in order to really build that whole, that whole closeness within the class. And I think that event completely changed the whole, the whole way the whole class interacted. Everyone suddenly felt like they knew each other, and that made class really fun after that. So to me, that was a very interesting turning point. I would have never thought that that would have been necessary, but it really stayed in my mind.
Thank you, Tim. Amy? What do you remember? Just one thing?
For me, it's easy. No, for me, it's easy. Cultural and gastronomic, discoveries, that we had. Okay, simple. Everywhere. When we went, Germany, in Japan, but also here in Singapore, the aperos, everything that we could, have all together. That was my most memorable experience, and actually we are continuing that. Professor Cedomir, just to let you know, in the court.
Good to know.
And Aileen can testify respect. So yes, the bonding and the community that we experience. Yes.
Thank you, Amy. Aileen, up to you.
Yes. So as a result of the MBA, I really expanded my network. And before the pandemic, I was able to travel with one of my classmates to Myanmar. So this is also, of course, before the Myanmar ongoing events there right now, right? But I would say one thing that was memorable about that visit, we were in the middle of all these rice fields. And then I noticed these, what looked like solar panels beside the farmers' huts, right? So we stopped and asked the farmers, what are these? Are these solar panels? And they said, yes, these are solar panels. What do you use them for? We use them to charge our cell phones. So this is like in the middle of nowhere. These are farmers who have cell phones and checking. And I said, what do you use your cell phones for? Well, mainly keeping in touch, but they also use it to download weather data to support them in their farming, right? So that observation made me realize, oh, it's true that digital is everywhere, right? If they have it in the rice fields of Myanmar, then clearly it is something that pervades our entire society and entire culture, and even there in the middle of Myanmar. Anyway, my heart goes out to Myanmar, what they're experiencing right now, and to our colleagues there. But okay, and I guess we have a participant from Myanmar. Hello. Yes. Yeah. It was a very valuable, eye-opening experience for me. And that's something I really wish for everybody who will take this EMBA, right? To take those opportunities to really expand your world.
Thank you very much, Aileen, for that. I like your observations, because when you're coming to the executive MBA, it is, of course, coming for knowledge. It is, of course, coming for upgrading some of your skills that you already have, but it is also the experience. So the experience is sharing with the classmates. It is expanding the network. It is also going out with them, and you never know what may happen. You will discover new things. Maybe you will also have new opportunities for your work, or to expand in another industry or in another company. So this is also part of the holistic approach, the term that Amy was using in her presentation. So the holistic approach is not only the hard part, which is acquiring new skills, but it is also the soft part, when you're getting out and when you're continuing to have a conversation with your classmates or with the people from other cohorts. I'll still have many contacts from all the cohorts that we used to have here in Singapore, and they are continuously in touch, either within the cohort or outside the cohort. So please continue like this. Continue like this. I would like to thank all of you, because we are gradually coming to the end of this panel discussion. I would just like to check if Aliyah is still here. Aliyah, are you here?
Yes.
Hi, Aliyah.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic panel discussion. Thank you so much, Aileen, Amy, and Tim, and especially for our amazing Professor Cedomir Nestorovic. So if the attendees has any questions, please feel free to write it down at the Q&A function located at the bottom of your screen, or you may get in touch with our program advisor. And if you want to check out our upcoming events, our upcoming sessions also, the link, we have provided the link on the chat function. Please feel free to join us. Please, if you have any last words, Professor Cedomir, to the attendees, to our amazing alumni, ESSEC Mannheim EMBA Asia Pacific alumni, please.
Yes, just one last thing is that usually we are doing this kind of event in presence on the campus. Just behind me, you can see the picture. Can you see the picture? So it is a very nice campus that we have on One North. One North is a place that we have in Singapore, which is surrounded by a specific ecosystem that we have here. So we have startup companies, we have some multinational companies, which are all present here. So this is what we do. Usually we welcome you on campus. Unfortunately, this time we cannot do it. So I hope that you enjoyed this panel discussion. I would like also to thank all the panelists. I know that you have some time in order to spend with your family, with your friends. This is Saturday, so I know that it is, and it is also during the weekend, which is Easter weekend. So I know that it is not very easy to commit some time for that. So I would like to thank you, all of you, for your participation. See you very soon in the future. And hopefully we will have some questions from the attendees. If we have some questions, we will be very happy to answer them. Thank you very much for that. Alia, for you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. So next up, we have 2 panel sessions coming up. So join us for how an MBA in strategy and digital leadership can pivot your career, or the digital marketing opportunities in Asia. So simply click on the link that we have provided, and see you in our next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.